1.2 continue. Here we go. So we have to know terms and terminology. So this is just an example of an equation, and it has 3x squared plus 5x plus negative 7. You've got to know what these terms are. When there is just a number by itself, whether it's positive, negative, or fraction, it is a constant term. Okay. When you have x's, y's, a, b, any type of letter, that is a variable term. Whether it has a squared, a cube, or anything with it, that's the variable term. And then that 3 and 5 in front of the variable term are called coefficients. And in some cases, when we get to certain equations, we're going to talk about the leading coefficient, which is the number in front of the highest power. But for now, you need to know those three terms because in your homework, you're going to have to identify them in equations. Okay? And they're not going to go away. Those terms are going to be used all of Algebra 2. So if you don't know what they're talking about, you're not going to be able to do the problem right. Another thing that we use a lot in Algebra 2 is like terms, which I'm sure you've heard before in algebra. And it's terms that have the same variable parts. So I color coordinated these ones. These have this. These are well, actually, these are not like terms because this has a square with it and this doesn't. So we can only combine things that have like terms, meaning that they have the same power or they're just a constant term by itself. So I have some of these equations A through D written on the board, and we're going to simplify them. When it says simplify, that means I'm not going to get a number answered. I'm just combining as far as I can go. So on A, what is 8x plus 3x? 11x, because I can combine those because they are like terms. They both have x's in them and they both have a coefficient in them. So I can combine those terms, 11x. Okay, very simple. What about B? 5p squared plus p minus 2p squared. What are my like terms in that? Okay, so 5p squared and negative 2p squared are like terms. So what's 5p squared minus 2p squared? 3p squared. And then, can I do anything with this positive p? Does it combine with something else? No, because it's just p by itself. It has no squared, so I'm just going to drop it down and say plus p, okay? And that's my simplified version. So they have to have the same terms. If you notice, I underline same terms and then circle the next ones that are the same or something. I always do a different shape around everything just because that's how my brain processes it. So feel free to draw around it or color code it or whatever you want to do. So if you want to use different colors on your homework, go for it. If you want to highlight the terms that are the same, that's fine. You can do it on the test too, I don't care. But that's how my brain works. Now on C, what do we have to do first before we can even see if we have like terms? We have 3 times y plus 2 in parentheses minus 4 times y minus 7 in parentheses. What do you think we need to do first before we can combine those terms? Distribute. Good. So 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 2 is 6. Now, when I distribute this 4 in, I'm actually going to distribute the negative with it, okay, to make it easier so I don't have to think that through later on. So negative 4 times y is negative 4y. And then I'm going to say negative 4 times negative 7. What's negative times a negative? Positive. So what's negative 4 times negative 7? Positive. Negative 4 times negative 7 is going to give me a positive what number? 28. Positive 28. So I'm going to get positive 28. Now from here, I can simplify, okay? I have a 3y here, and I have a negative 4y here. So what is 3y minus 4y? Negative 1 or negative y. You can write it either way. In your book, they're gonna leave it like that. They won't put the coefficient of 1 with it. And then I have a positive 6, and I have a positive 28. So what is 6 plus 28? So I have negative y plus 34, and that's my simplified version. Okay? So sometimes it's going to cause more than one step. You're going to have to do more than one thing. Now on D, tell me what combines. What are like terms down there? 2x and what? Yep, 2x, and I'm going to put that negative with it, negative 9x. So what is 2x minus 9x? Yep, negative 7x. And then that leaves negative 3y and positive y. So what's negative 3y plus y? Negative 2y. Good. And that's the simplified version. So when it says simplify, I don't get a number answer. When it says evaluate, I do. Okay. On your homework, you're going to have questions that look similar to this. And it says identify the terms, coefficients, and variables. So let's start with the terms, the constant terms. What are my constant terms in this equation? 2 and negative 3. Look back here. Constant terms means there's nothing with them. They're just numbers. Okay? So my constant terms are 2 and negative 3. Okay. What are my coefficients on this one? What are my coefficients? Coefficients are where in the equation? Okay. You are correct. Don't include the x with it. You're just going to say 5, what else? 7, and what else? 6. Okay, this is going to be a negative 6, okay? Because the negative is 6.
So it's just negative 6 and it's not squared, it's squared after that.
Right, so when we're talking coefficients and breaking it down, it's just the number that's in front of any of the variables, okay? So whatever that number is and the sign that goes with it, okay? Then, when we talk about variables, that's when those letters are going to come into play. So, what are the variables in this equation? X and x squared. Okay? Because there's 2 that are x, I only have to list it once. I don't have to list it twice. Wish I could talk about it. Okay? So that's what that looks like. Identifying terms, coefficients, and variables. That's why I said if you want to do it in colors, you can. It might make it easier for your brain to. It's kind of up to you. I color code everything in my life. All of my classes have color code. So yeah, when you have 2 algebraic expressions that are equivalent expressions, okay, you might hear that term. Something that is an equivalent expression is if they have the same value for all the values of the variables. So an equivalent expression is when the same value for all values of the variables. That means that that variable coefficient is going to be all the same. And then the last term we need to talk about is something called the identity, okay? A statement such as 8x plus 3x, okay, equals 11x. It equates to 2 equivalent expressions. So this expression is that expression. They're the equivalent expressions. And if they are equivalent expressions, then it is called an identity. Which kind of makes sense because remember when we talked about the identity property, it was like of addition, it was like 1 plus 0 equals 1 and equaled itself, okay? Or the identity property of multiplication, 2 times 1 equals 2 and equals itself. This equation over here equals this equation or this simplified version there. So it's its identity. Those are the things you're working on in your homework today.
So is it kind of like 9